Hello and welcome to Dave's Delights. I'm Dave, and as always, I'm delighted to have you guys here with me. But today, I'm delighted to be out in my local orchard. We're doing some U-pick apples, and we're going to make applesauce and apple butter. I think what we're going to show on screen is going to be the apple butter, but we'll see how it goes when we get to the kitchen. We're going to have a great day in front of us. So we're going to go out here and we're going to enjoy picking these apples and getting the hayride back, and then we'll see you back in the kitchen to cook. We are hunting the wild apple. Ha! Got him. Welcome back to the kitchen. And we may have overdone it just a little bit. I think we got about 40 pounds of apples. So what I'm using here, these are New Jersey wine sap apples. You can use lots of different types because we're making applesauce and apple butter. They're similar ideas, just depends on how long they've been cooked, more or less. But I like using like a sweeter apple, one that I wouldn't mind eating. I found that the Red Delicious is not my choice for just about anything. But other than that, you know, it's use your personal preference. I would say you can certainly blend them as well. But these are what I'm going to use today. And there's only a couple specialized tools we're going to need. Specialized. We're going to need a apple peeler and an apple corer. Makes life a lot easier if I can just go down, boom, and then pull the core out, shoot it off, and then give the thing a quick peel, chop them up, toss them into whatever I'm going to be cooking them in. Now, the thing about these and all apples is once you peel them, they start oxidizing and turning brown. Now, if the presentation of the apple matters to you, then you want to put some lemon juice or get them in water right away or whatever you're going to be cooking them as quick as possible. But this is applesauce and even more so apple butter. So I'm less worried about that, but I'm still going to core them all first and then peel as I go and get them into the pot as I'm finishing them. So I'm not leaving exposed apples out and around. And what we're going to use for the apple butter today to cook with is my Instant Pot. Now, this is a mechanical pressure cooker. It takes something that would take me all day, and it's going to bring it down to a much shorter amount of time. We'll go over settings and timings when we're actually getting to that part of making the recipe. And then the applesauce section, I'm going to do in my crock pot because I think that a slow cooker, that's a great way to make applesauce. I mean, you can do it on your stovetop too, but I prefer one of that kind of thing, which is going to be hours and hours. I want it to just set, let it go, and then just be able to check in on it every once in a while rather than having to really babysit it like you would on a stovetop. So I'm going to get everything ready. And remember, if your apples came straight from the field, you better wash them. You really should wash them all anyway, but these definitely need a washing. I pulled them off the tree by myself. Okay, I'll see you guys back once we are set up for the next step of our process here. See you soon. Now, on the very likely off chance that you've never used one of these apple corers before, it's a real simple concept. You've got the core of the apple. It goes vertical. So we place the apple flat down on the cutting board. We put the core centered over the stem, and then we push. Give it a twist, and it comes out. And as you can see, there's the entire core removed. So it's that quick and easy, and then you can look right through your apple. And then all we got to do is get the peel off and slice. Now, a lot of recipes for applesauce are going to say that you can do it peeled or unpeeled. If you want to do it unpeeled, you be my guest. But personally, when I'm having applesauce, I don't like little pieces of peel in it. So I always get my peels off. But we're going to get these all into our pot. There's some other ingredients I'm going to discuss once I'm done cutting. So I'll see you back when we're ready to combine everything into the pot. Okay, everything's put together here. So we're going to do final assembly. I have 5 pounds of apples that have been cored and peeled and chopped. I chopped them into chunks about this big. And as you can see, even in just that little time that I was doing this process, they're starting to brown a little bit. But again, no real problem because we're going to be cooking these. If you needed presentation-wise it to stay perfectly apple white, then I would put a little bit of lemon juice around this to try to reduce that oxidation. So what we're going to add to this is going to be 2 whole cinnamon sticks that go right in. We add 1/2 teaspoon of whole allspice that I then ground in my mortar and pestle over there down into powder. Now, if you don't want to do that, then it's fine to just get ground allspice. But remember, as soon as the allspice berry gets ground up, it starts losing some of its potency. So for the best results, you want to grind it yourself. But in that goes. Now a whole teaspoon, actually I'm sorry, it's a half teaspoon. I misread, so I'm going to take half of that out. A half teaspoon of nutmeg. Now nutmeg's another one of those spices that I'm glad I noticed that was a half teaspoon, not a whole teaspoon, because it is very potent. If you take too much nutmeg, it's just going to be it'll make everything taste like nutmeg, and it'll overwhelm everything else. So 1/2 teaspoon. Optionally, you could add a half teaspoon of vanilla extract if you wanted to. I'm not so married to that concept, so I am going to just put in my 1/8 teaspoon of fine salt, which will be like a fine sea salt or a table salt. In this case, I'm using pink Himalayan, and I've ground it really fine. And then, because I want to make this apple cranberry, but you can just do apple, but I live in a place where I have cranberry bogs down the street. So I've got 2 cups of fresh from the bog cranberries, which I'm putting in as well. And these are going to get a good shaky. And then I have to put in a 1/4 cup of water. And then I'm going to set this into my Instant Pot, and it's going to go for high pressure for 5 minutes. Once the 5 minutes of high pressure are done, then I'm going to do a 20-minute natural release, and then that should be well cooked, and we can then process this further. So I will see you once that thing beeps. So while the apple butter is doing its natural release, it's had its 5 minutes of high pressure time. So while it's doing its natural release, we're going to put together the applesauce that's going to go in the slow cooker. So I have 6 pounds of the same thing, chopped up, same apple, chopped up into the same size pieces. 6 pounds are in here. And to that, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of honey. And nothing gooier than honey. But oh, do I love it. I'm strongly considering getting myself a beehive or 2. I already have the bee suit, but we'll have to see if I can figure out where a good place on the property is for it. But honestly, bees are so important for us to have food that really everyone, even if you're not going to collect the honey, everyone should be involved with bees somehow. So even if you're just planting wildflowers or something to allow the bees to have something to drink, just really think about them, because if we don't have bees, and lots of species of bees are endangered now, then we don't have food and we all starve to death. So love your bees. You add 1 stick of cinnamon. It's a whole stick because we're going to pull it back out later. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. That's this one. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger. And then we have just a couple of strips of lemon peel. It's about 1/4 of a good-sized lemon. And those are going to go in, and I'm going to give this a real good stir. And then, the heat is going to break it down further than that, but I want to get this so it's not all just sitting on top. And it's stirred up enough for now. We're going to get the lid on it, and then it's going to go on high for 2.5 to 3 hours. Now, if you want to go low, like, a lot of people set these and forget them and go do things all day. If you're going to go low, it'll be 6 hours. And then after that time, we will come back and move on to the next step. It'll be cooked through, and it'll be time to turn it into actual sauce rather than just cooked apples. So this is going on. This is going on the heat, and the apple butter is almost done. I will get back to you with the apple butter once that thing beeps at me, for us to get it ready to saute and turn it into butter rather than just applesauce. See you in a minute. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. This is had a natural release to that point, but there's still going to be pressure here. So if you've never operated a pressure cooker before, don't put your face anywhere near the vent when you're getting ready to release. So I'm going to flip this lever now. And what's nice is the natural release has happened. You always want to make sure that it's cleared before you try to open it. But there could potentially have been a whole bunch of steam still, depending on how well that released during that 20 minutes. And that looks like baby food in there now, which is excellent. As you can see, it is all mashed up, and all I'm going to have to do is give it a combine. I'm going to take out the cinnamon sticks, which, oh, by the way, are pretty warm. Go figure. Now, remember, wash your hands, and you still are not going to want to put your hands in here. You can use a hand masher. I've got a slightly nicer toy here, so I'm going to take advantage of it. And this gets loud just for a second. And to just give you a quick look here before I finish this off. I gotta love these spoon rests that I have everywhere. So now you can see, now it's looking more like a thick sauce. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get that all the way smooth, and I'm gonna start right now. I'm gonna take a 1/4 cup of honey, and that's going in. That's gonna be my sweetener for this. That 1/4 cup of honey is going in. And I'm going to mix that in with it, and then I'm going to keep on using the immersion blender. Although honestly, it's pretty well mixed already. I'm going to hit it a couple more times with the immersion blender, and then this is going on the saute setting for a half an hour. At a half an hour, I'm going to check, see if it looks thick enough to be apple butter, and you just keep on going 10-minute increment by 10-minute increment at that point, stirring regularly with a rubber-sided spatula until you have it to the consistency that you're looking for apple butter. So I'm going to finish this up. We're going to come back after I'm done sauteing so I can show you what the finished product looks like, and we can talk about how we go about canning these things. I'll see you shortly. The 20 minutes are up, and we now have taken this out of the one pot, and this apple butter is looking pretty darn thick and spreadable. We tasted it, and the flavor is amazing. The cranberries come through, the spices come through, but no single part of it, I'm salivating just thinking about it, no single part of it is always too overwhelming. So I'm going to let this cool, and then what we're going to do with this is we are going to put this into small jars. I use a 1/4 pint, and that way I can give these out, because you know what happens with larger jars for people I know. I give them a larger jar of apple butter. They open up the apple butter. They have it a couple times. Then it goes in the back of the refrigerator and they forget about it. And by the time they get back around to it, it's gone moldy. So I prefer to give them a couple of the 1/4 pint jars, because they are tiny. And that way you can spread it on. It's good for one set. And then you clean the jar, give it back to me, because we never waste ball jars, right? And then you pull out another one later. That way it's going to reduce waste. And it doesn't really change the kind of volume as far as like where I'm going to be storing things. So that's the way I do it. And we're going to can all this. Canning, I'm certainly not an expert at. I've been doing it for a long time. But I want you, when you do this for your canning process, I want you to go on Ball's website, check out check out their instructions. They have manuals, and just follow, or anyone's canning information on how to appropriately can, because you can really mess things up if you do it wrong. But this is ready to go in. I'm going to do a water bath canning for 30 minutes, and that will take care of my stuff. But when you're doing it yourself, do a little bit of extra research on the canning side of it versus the cooking side of it, just to make sure that you're not accidentally poisoning your family. We're waiting on the applesauce. That's going to be several hours. So I'll get back to you when we're done with the applesauce, and we'll probably already have these in some jars at that point. I will see you, by the miracle of television, I will see you immediately. Okay, it's been 2.5 hours, and the applesauce is now done. And by the way, that is still hot. What I did is, just like we saw with the apple butter, the applesauce, once it was done, I took out the cinnamon stick and I took out the lemon peels, and then I took the stick blender and mashed it and mashed it and mashed it until I got some pretty nice applesauce. I like leaving it a little bit chunky because that kind of shows that it's homemade versus what you get from the store. But I tasted it. It's just sweet enough. If you needed to add some more flavor, you can add more. You can add more spices. You can add more sugar. You can add more honey. Things that go good in applesauce could be honey, could be maple syrup, could be brown sugar. Any of those you like if you want to sweeten it, or you can just leave it unsweetened. But this came out just perfectly for me. So this is going to end up in a whole bunch of jars. Or if you want to just let it cool and then serve it for dinner or have it as a side dish, you could have it today. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to try this at home. It's fall. It's apple picking season. If you got an orchard near you, go check it out. And if not, hey, grocery store always has apples. Give it a try. Let me know how you did. And please, just keep on giving me some of these suggestions. I got a whole bunch recently, so you're going to be seeing a bunch of recipes coming up within the next couple of weeks. I hope you look forward to it. I know I am. I'll see you guys soon.